Good morning, everybody. This is Ralph Wakeman live from Shenandoah Sew and Vac. And I don't know how many people are watching this morning. If you are, I need to go get my phone. I have my cell phone here, which I'll probably get a lot of calls from robots this morning. But I will be right back. I'm going to grab my other phone so I can answer all of your calls. Oh, let me see if I can turn this so that you don't have to have that in your... Can I move this? I can move it right on the air. That's good. All right, I'll set that right there. All right, now it's in my face, but I'll get out of the way. Hold on. According to my list I have here, this is week number 4. Let's see. I want to turn it so that I am in the... I'm looking backwards because I've got the wording right. All right, let's do that. And put this up a little bit. Oh, put this up a little bit. Okay, there we go. Good morning, everybody. This is my 4th attempt at doing this show, and still no phone calls while I've been on the air, but hey, I'll keep trying. You never know what could happen. Oh, also, for those of you that have friends that would like to watch this, or enemies, maybe you want your enemies to watch this might be good for them. I have this. If you see this, these are the little business cards I'm starting to make up. And on there, you'll see a little barcode. And maybe next week I'll put that in the other corner. If people click on that barcode, that should take them to my Shenandoah Sew and Vac YouTube channel. And that way they can look at these things on their own without having to do any typing or anything. Some of the phones will do that. And we'll go from there. I think I'm going to start off with something I was talking about with somebody this morning. You hear on the, not everywhere, but you hear a lot of places, people that are angry. They're just mad. Mad about the sunshine. Oh, it's so hot. Oh, it's so hot out here. It's terrible. Or they're mad at the political situation somewhere in the world, whether here or somewhere else. Oh, it's terrible. I can't believe it. It used to be that way when there was a different political opinion. Everybody was just fussing. Oh, my goodness. They can't stand it. So, I had a customer one time that I think helped solve the situation for me. They had a sewing machine that would just act up on them, especially if they knew something important had to be done right away. Oh my goodness, I got to get this done right away, or I'll be late. Well, the situation was, they said it made me so mad I wanted to say bad words, and I said to the lady, I said, ma'am, that wouldn't be good. Saying bad words won't help anything. She says, I know, but I was sitting there working on my sewing machine, and it was giving me fits, and I finally just went, bad words, bad words, bad words. I said, ma'am, I think you've got it all handled just fine. So that's when you get really upset with somebody or something, just think bad words, bad words, bad words. Those kind of bad words. Also, I have a friend of mine that comes around the store every once in a while, and we talk, and he's always complaining about his neighbor. His neighbor is driving him up the wall, just driving him up the wall. I said, well, have you talked to your neighbor? He said, no, I've called the police. I've talked to the neighbors around them and everything, but I've never talked to them. I said, well, until you talk to them, just keep complaining. It's not going to do any good. So anyway, just... if we just talk to people and just were nice, would be a good thing. So, nice is not something that's done very much anymore. Nice is a relic. It is said that our founding fathers said our country was only good if the people in the country were good, moral people. Of course, nowadays people say, well, what is moral? Well, I think you get the idea. Just treat people like you'd want to be treated. You don't want to say, I hate you, when don't even know you. What? Why do you hate me? Well, because you're a friend of so-and-so, and they're a friend of so-and-so, and that person I don't like, so I don't like you. Okay, now, I want to talk about vacuum cleaners today, And today we're going to talk about hoses. See this hose here? This is not connected to a vacuum cleaner, but I get people coming quite a bit of the time that's saying, my vacuum cleaner just doesn't have the suction it used to have. And I'll say, have you checked the suction on your hose? And they'll do this and say, there's no suction on my hose. And so I'll say, do you know how to find out where the clog is in your vacuum cleaner? And they say, no, tell me. Well, I'm going to give you a secret that vacuum people all over the world do. There aren't that many of us. Anyway, vacuum people sometimes use to check out on clogs. It's called, when you take, this is a slinky hose. In other words, it stretches. Ooh, see that? Goes back and forth. It's almost like exercise bands that they have in physical therapy, but it's not quite. Anyway, if I did it enough, I got a feeling the repetitions would get to me after a while. Anyway, so this hose here, if it were connected to a vacuum cleaner and you turned it on, you had it all stretched out, and you turned on the vacuum cleaner, and the hose went, this part looks, ooh, excuse me, I've got a call. Let's see who this is. Louisa, Virginia. Hello, you're live and on the air. How can I help you this fine and sunny day? Hello? Are you a human? I think not. They hung up. Okay. In other words, when you turn on the vacuum cleaner, part of the hose is going to shrink. See how that's all tight together? Well, the part where it's real tight right in here, this spot right here where it's tight here and loose over here, that is where the clog is. And so you need to figure out a way to get it out. Now, a lot of vacuum cleaners have little buttons and things you can take the hose off and operate on it. But you can't really get to them. Now, please do not take a coat hanger to your vacuum cleaner. Did I just say a hose? Please do not take a coat hanger to your vacuum cleaner, because coat hangers have sharp metal points and they can pop holes in these hoses. Once there's a hole popped in the hose, it's not good anymore. And these, because they're stretchy hoses, you can't really use tape on them. The tape kind of, nah, it's not good. So one of the things that I use here at the store is what I use for when I have a real bad cold, is this. Not really. But this is a hemostat, okay? It's a giant hemostat, and I'll stick it inside the hose and grab the object that's in there and take it out. That solves the problem sometimes. Sometimes I'll take the hose off the vacuum cleaner and turn it around. Put this into the vacuum cleaner to suck out the part that's in there. Now, it's not going to do it very easily because the part that's stuck in there is probably stuck between these little grooves here. So what you have to do is squeeze those grooves. Watch this. See how big around they get? Nice and tight. Big. Twist it to open it up, and it'll move the dirt from there to there. And then you do the same thing here. You open it up, and you'll hear it go, and then you'll do it again, and it'll go, and then you go to this piece, and you do that, and it goes right into the vacuum cleaner, or gets stuck right here, and you can reach it with a pair of scissors, or something that you can just get in there and pull it out. Maybe a short pair of hemostats will get you in there and take it out. But twisting the hose to make it larger will give it more space for the dirt, or the cotton ball, or the mouse, or your pet cat, or whatever is stuck in there. You twist that and it'll help it move down the hose to where it can be pulled out. All right. Now you can also, on some vacuum cleaners, like the Filter Queen and some others, Electrolux had it too, had a blower on the other end of the machine. So you could put the hose on the hose that went into the vacuum cleaner onto that and then blow it. Now, I would suggest you do that outside, because if it works, it's the 4th of July. Things are going to come flying out of here. And if it's alive, you're going to be running. Now, even if it's not alive, there's going to be junk all over your house, and won't like that too well, because you just cleaned and now you've just thrown dirt all the way back over the house again. All right. Well, that was my little hint for vacuum cleaners today. The next thing I want to talk about is sewing machines. Now, I've been in business for over 36 years. I worked on sewing machines about 35 of those 36 years. And the reason being is because I was never going to work on those things. They were too complicated. Well, after you work with them for a while, you get to where it's not so bad, and you don't cry every day that you work on. I still do some days, but I don't do it in public. This is 15 times the size of a sewing machine needle. One of my employees made this for me. Thank you, David. I use this almost every day now. I did damage the end of it. You might see the end there has a little burr on the end of it. I use that as an example now. I dropped it. I use that as an example saying that when you're sewing along and you hear the fabric go pop, pop, pop as you're sewing along, most likely the end of your needle is a little rough. A little rough. So it pushes material down in your machine, and it also pops in through the material and can break threads and things. And if you're using double knit on a pair of pants, it can flat embarrass you when that little hole gets bigger. Okay, so anyway, I had people coming in one day. I had I'm going to talk like an evangelist. I had 3 people come in one day, and my store was facing the front window where I was sitting with my customers and looking at their machines. They were expensive sewing machines, and the people were thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to get these things fixed. So they set the machine down in front of me, and what I saw, I'm going to turn around so you can see it, I saw this. You see that little piece there? That's called the scarf. That piece is supposed to be facing away from you. They had their needles in their sewing machine backward. So I sat there and I looked at the machine for a little bit, and I saw that, and I was thinking at first I was going to make a lot of money because I can use money. But anyway, I looked at it and I said, no, that's going to be my minimum charge. They said, what? You're going to fix that machine? It was not sewing right, skipping stitches. It was laughing at us. It was doing all kinds of crazy things. So I take the needle out and I turn around and put it back in and start sewing on it. And they say, oh, it's a miracle. And so I love it when they say that because it's not me. It was the needle in backwards. So make sure your needle is in properly on your machine. Now I say that, now I'm going to talk about why sometimes people don't understand how a needle goes into a machine. Because there are at least 3 different ways needles can go in machines. And it gets a little confusing at times. Imagine this is your bobbin case. Okay? You put your bobbin in there, or you put your bobbin in this machine, and some of them you go flat, some of them you go in and you snap them into the machine. Some of them go in like this. Some of them, well, they go in like this. All right. Most sewing machines with the snappy finger, with the little finger that comes up, the little device like this. Your bobbin's in here and you got this little rod that comes up. Those machines, when you're looking at them, like we're looking at each other here, the needle goes in. You're looking at the sewing machine. Goes in like this. The groove is on the front. Okay? But some of those machines, the bobbin case goes on the side of the sewing machine. Okay? So when the bobbin case goes in the side of the sewing machine like this, the needle has to go in sideways. See that back section here? This back section, you need to have it facing to the side so that you could thread the needle. Say this is your bobbin case. On most sewing machines, you thread from the outside in on your machine. Now I say that, and then I've got to say, but there is an exception. The exception is the Singer 221, the Singer 201, and I think it's the Model 100. It could be a different model, but there are several models of Singers that you thread from the inside out, which means the flat side of the needle goes to the outside. Just to confuse us, they do that. Now, I've also shown this on a video, and I've had people say, I watched your video on threading a sewing machine. So I'm going to talk about that in just a moment here while I'm talking about needles and bobbin case. Oh, the bobbin cases that go in flat, almost all of those, the flat side goes to the back behind the bobbin case where the drop-in bobbins. Okay, goes in behind, flat side to the back. You thread the needle from front to back. Now, to thread a needle, you're going to use the groove side. Sewing machines are groovy. I'm going to say that so many times you're going to say, I wish he wouldn't say that, but I'm going to anyway. All right, so you've got your thread. You cut your thread to a sharp point because threads can have fuzzies on the ends. And if you ever tried to thread a needle with a bunch of fuzzies on the ends, the fuzzies get in the way and make the thread go all different ways instead of into the hole. It's not good. So you want to cut your thread to a sharp point so it's nice and sharp, and you get it in that groove. See that groove? We're going to go down that groove, down the groove. I'm moving the needle up as I'm doing that. And I go down and down and down. And what happens then when I get to the bottom? Pop. It goes in. It goes into the eye of the needle. See that? It's right in there. If you take it and put it in the groove and go down that groove, it'll go pop right into the needle. It makes it very easy to thread the machine. I've gotten applause one time. I've said it so many times I want to say I got applause every time I told the story, but that's not true. Well, every time I told it it's one quilt group, I got applause, but it was only once. All right, so that is my needle question there. I've gone through needles and backwards. I want to talk about lamps. Last week, I showed you this. We were talking about push sockets and how they work, pushing them from side to side. This week, I was going to talk about something else, a different type of lamp switch, which were very popular back in the 70s and 80s. But as I went to get ready to show that, what I saw was that my lamp that I used last week was actually defective. And because of that, I could have had some sparks flying here. So, oh, by the way, my phone number's up there in the corner. Please call me. I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll come back. But I'll stop what I'm doing if you want to. All right? So, this was the other end of the lamp that I used. This was a used cord because I was going to cut it up and use it for other things. But I went to look at it this morning to create the different type of lamp I was going to talk about. And if you look right in there, you'll see right here that there's a break in that little insulator here. And the wires, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to have to put it online later. But there are burn marks where contact was made off and on in this could have been a switch. I wouldn't suggest it. But it could have been a switch. As long as these two wires didn't touch, it would have turned on and off. If the two wires would have touched, we'd have had some fireworks. Well, actually, we would have had a little fusing and a little welding going on. Very quick welding, but a little welding going on. So the plug was bad. Now, I get a lot of customers coming in here that want me to change the socket on their lamps. And so I'll look at it, and I'll look at the socket, and I'll turn it on and off, whether it's a push socket, turn socket, pull chain, whatever. And sometimes it sounds fine. I'm thinking, that doesn't seem like that's the problem. So you look at the plug, and you can see on the plug that it's broken. Oh, there, maybe you can see a little bit better there. It's really hard to do this when you are. Well, it won't focus. Anyway, when there's a break in the insulation. Same way with vacuums themselves. People will come in sometimes and say their vacuum's not working, and I will, before I do anything else, first I examine the cord, make sure there's no breaks in it, no electrical tape or cellophane tape or whatever people use to fix repairs on their cord. And by the way, if you're going to work on a cord, I would strongly suggest using things like wire nuts or crimps. Please don't just kind of wrap them together and use tape to hold them together, especially cellophane tape. It's not going to do a good job. You can solder them, and soldering is not that hard. We might talk about that sometime, but soldering is not that hard. But you do not want to just kind of wrap things together, because what happens if the cord gets pulled on? If it gets pulled on, the wires come apart and they might touch each other. And when two wires touch each other, sparks are going to fly, or they twist. I have a lady that had a foot control for her sewing machine that was having a problem with her foot control. She said is broken because it's running full speed all the time. Every time she plugs in her machine, it's running full speed. And I said, I don't think it's your foot control. I think the wires are crossed. And when the wires are crossed, the lights come on, or the motor, in this case, runs on a foot control. Not on a regular lamp, but a foot control. Because a foot control lets power go in, go to the foot control, and then come back out. It goes back to the motor. So if the wires are touching, there's no foot control in the way, and it just goes straight in and out to the motor, and it runs full speed. Not good. I've got you confused if you don't understand electricity. So There are ways of fixing this plug, and I didn't bring any along with me, but they're the kinds that a lot of times I will tear these wires apart, solder the ends of them, put a little crook in them, and then put them into a plug and seal it up. There are other lamp plugs that you can buy at the store that you cut the end off. You cut it off nice and smooth, and you slide it up inside this lamp piece, and you squeeze the two wires, these two pieces together, and it will make a new contact. That is an easy way to do it, and you don't even have to do any mechanical wiring or anything. You just want to make sure that you're doing it properly. And that reminds me, I will probably be doing that on another show here in the future. Okay, anybody got any questions? Is anybody watching me? Last time I had someone make a little note there in the corner that said that they had a thumbs up or something like that for me. It was kind of encouraging. But that was the last time. All right. So now, when it comes to my cleaning situation, I have talked about different ways of cleaning your carpets. The last time I talked about the, I don't know what I talked about. Oh, I have my papers in front of me here. The last time I talked about carpet extractors and carpet, the different types of carpet cleaners. You got the ones that spray the water into the carpet, then you got the kinds that spin. Well, those are the two types that mostly are out there. And I will be trying to show my host here in the next couple of weeks. By the way, it's 4th of July coming up here on Friday. I will be closed on the 4th of July. Most likely I'm going to be going to a Celtic, I think it's called Celtic, competition for dance up in Balmer, Maryland, with my beloved. And I'm very excited about that. And so I will not be here on Friday. Probably I will be back on Saturday. I just can't stay away. And well, I'll probably be back. I will be here. Today is Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday. I'll be here, but not here on Friday. Alrighty. No one's come in the door. I've got my lights on, the beautiful sunshine. So let's just say you all have a great 4th of July weekend. A helpful hint is do not hold on to fireworks after you light them. Okay, kind of step away. Probably a good idea. And when I was a kid, we had lots of fireworks. We would light them and then run like, we didn't get to see them go off sometimes because we were running away. So anyway, enjoy the 4th of July. Be safe. Okay. Best thing to do is watch somebody else set them off and have the cell phone ready with 911. That's not true. Okay. We're going to sign off here today and just be nice. Think of good things to say to people, even the grumpy ones. I used to have a saying that I had for my employees. They have to treat all employees nice, even the grumpy ones. And you do get some grumpy. No matter what you do for them, they're still going to think that you're trying to hoodwink them and do things to take advantage of them. And not everybody's out there doing that. There are some that are out there trying to take advantage of people, trying to lie and cheat. But, you know, sooner or later, someone's going to be taking care of them. It might not be us. It might not be in this life. But we've got an eternity to deal with that part. Right now, we need to be nice. Okay, thank you all. You all have a great 4th of July. I'll see you all next Wednesday. Any comments you want to write them down in the bottom. Any complaints you want to write in the bottom. I've heard a guy say, if you like what you're seeing, hit the thumbs up button once. If you don't like what you see, hit the thumbs up button or thumbs down button twice. Already. You all have a great day. Talk to you all next week. All right. Bye-bye. Okay, I guess I'm going off the air here. It says ending live broadcast. Say good night, Gracie. Good night, Gracie.